you look at Glassjaw, and I think we weren't like an amazing band, but we did really interesting sounding soundscapes of weird things, because we like weird things. I don't think we were like, holy shit, you see those dudes fucking play? But I think as of 2005, we all kind of banded together and like really focused, and I think that we play better than we've ever played, and it definitely was very apparent when the rehearsals in 2005 started to me.
When it comes to influential bands, there have been many bands that have small discography but with more significant impact, like Nirvana or Slint. Glassjaw is another example of it, but they never broke up. Sure, they have been into many problems during their career with labels issues and health problems that they were facing while performing, yet they're still driving to keep it going. Glassjaw didn't become a widely known band in the early 2000s, but they went on numerous tours across the globe, and they were the most respectable bands out there. I know what you're thinking. How can they be so influential if they only had 3 albums in their entire discography, went on hiatus, and what is up with them having 3 different labels for all 3 albums they released? Well, I will talk about how Glassjaw formed and how it ended up becoming a well-known band on the post-hardcore scene. Glassjaw was formed in Hempstead, New York in 1993 by Justin Beck and Daryl Palumbo. They met each other during camping and both of them were picking which name of the band sounded cooler, so they picked Glassjaw. However, Justin Beck met Todd Winstock and formed another band in 1994 called Sons of Abraham, which was a Jewish straight-edge metalcore band. Daryl, on the other hand, also formed his straight-edge band called Busted. It was very complicated with these many bands that both of the members were involved in, but with the different bands, they kept changing their lineup from Glassjaw and switching each member's instruments, like Justin Beck originally was a drummer but switched to guitar. They recorded a bunch of demo songs and albums until they released their debut EP in '97, Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, which was released in 2001 with a different cover, but were still recording their demo albums and songs until they got signed. Many demo albums and songs will appear in their future albums. Fans were waiting for when they would drop their debut album because they were formed in 1993 and they only had one project in '97, but in 1999, everything changed. In 1999, Glassjaw met a producer, Ross Robertson. Ross Robertson was a famous producer that produced many famous band albums like Limp Bizkit, Korn, and Slipknot, and got signed to Roadrunner Records the same year. Justin Beck put out saying, "Ross showed up at our practice, we started a song, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ross standing up, waving his hand, and he's like, it's over, it's done, I want to do this, you got a deal." And that's how they got signed by them. Robinson wanted his goal to destroy Adidas Rock, which are Korn and Limp Bizkit. Ironically, Robinson produced both of them, so I don't know why he's against them. Maybe he got sick and tired of how nu metal was a popular genre. I don't know, that's just my guess. On May 9, 2000, Glassjaw released their debut album, Everything You Want to Know About the Silence. The title of the album was a reference to Daryl Palumbo Crohn's disease, which he's been diagnosed with since 1996. The album itself is nu metal since Ross Robertson produced it, and nu metal was still a dominating genre in 2000, including their fashion that I will never forget about it. Still, the sound on the album was a lot different than how you hear a typical nu metal sound, because it has a post-hardcore sound to it, which at the time, post-hardcore wasn't a popular genre. Yet. And there were many post-hardcore bands at the time that signed to major labels but didn't have success, just as Shudder to Think and Far. The lyrical content on this album, oh boy, do I have to say it? Oh well. It didn't really age well, because this album has misogynist lyrics that sometimes they will write about violent stuff to it, like, look at these song titles, Hurting and Shoving, She Should Have Let Me Sleep, Her Middle Name Was Boom, and Pretty Lush. These song titles sound like your typical incel rant. The weird thing about it is that I still love this album because the production on this album is so fucking good, and even the chorus was my favorite part of most of the tracks on this album. Like listening to Love by Razor Lines, after the whole screaming anger to it, you get to the chorus and the singing part, and oh my god dude, that's my favorite part about this track. 17 years later, after their first album was released, Daryl will go to the interview with The Guardian explaining that the album they made was offensive and misogynist. They also wish they could go back and do it differently with their first album. After the release of their debut album, they went touring, but Daryl was still severely affected by his Crohn's disease, so he had to cancel some of his tours. Daryl claimed Roadrunner Records didn't care about Glassjaw and they were more focused on Nickelback and Slipknot, so Glassjaw departed from Roadrunner Records on December 2001. Glassjaw hates Roadrunner Records so much that they tell their fans not to buy their debut album, to not get their label any money, and wanted their fans to illegally download it on LimeWire or Napster. Oh wait, Napster was shut down in 2001. Daryl Palumbo talked about Roadrunner saying,
"Roadrunner's a joke. Roadrunner not even a real label. It has the power to be one of the superpowers in the heavy music industry, while labels like Victory Records, which is a small hardcore label, is totally surpassing Roadrunner. Roadrunner's a joke. It's like the scourge of the music industry."
Okay, the part that he mentioned about Victory Records also aged horribly of what they treated with other bands like A Day to Remember and Hawthorne Heights. Glassjaw remains independent to find another label to sign to make another album. In 2001, Glassjaw signed with Warner Bros. Records and began recording their sophomore album with the same producer, Ross Robinson. They hired many new band members to complete their lineup that include Shannon Larkin, who was the drummer from Godsmack and was drumming duties for Glassjaw. Their official drummer, Larry Gorman, was still a part of it, but Ross Robinson didn't get the click track on the recording because he believed it takes away from the true essence of the music. On July 9, 2002, Glassjaw dropped their second album, Worship and Tribute. This album's production and lyrical content are a lot different than their last album, which their first album was filled with anger and hate about the toxic relationship that Daryl had. Since their first album had a new metalish sound to it, Worship and Tribute tend to focus more on the post-hardcore and emo sound that they originally had throughout their pre-Roadrunner Records era. It had a mature theme and melodic sound to it. Another thing that they incorporated was jazz and ambient influences. The lyrical content of this album is more focused on politics and the effect of the September 11 attack, instead of whatever the last album was. For example, Tip Your Bartender talks about the 9/11 aftermath and going to war, Cosmopolitan Blood Loss talks about abortion and decisions, and Radio Cambodia talks about nuclear war and its effects of it. This album, yet again, received positive reviews. Not only became another influential post-hardcore album, but it is the best post-hardcore album to listen to if you're new to the genre. They began touring to support their second album, but the Germany and UK tour dates were cancelled because Daryl was hospitalized in Paris due to suffering a relapse of Crohn's disease. He returned to touring but was hospitalized again in Glasgow, Scotland, which led to cancellations. In 2004, Glassjaw went on hiatus and each member went on to make a new band that separated. Daryl from a new band called Head Automatic, while Justin was working on the band merchandise. Although they were still playing shows, they hadn't dropped their new songs for a while, until October 2005 they will release their EP, El Mark, but it was just a B-side of the 3 tracks on their last album, Worship and Tribute. The weirdest thing about this EP is that the release of El Mark had a different cover, but if you search the same album title, it has the same cover as Worship and Tribute, which kinda makes sense because it was a B-side of their Worship and Tribute album, but it was confusing to look at the same cover instead. They will still go to shows with many different members, which I can't name because there are too many of them! Glassjaw announced their website their one-off show that was coming on July 7, 2007, or what they like to call 777. They will go touring as they name 100% Maybe, because Daryl was still facing his health problems and had a history of cancellation tours. Along with many highly anticipated waits for new songs or projects as Daryl and Justin promised they're working on it, on November 2008, Glassjaw released their new song, You Think You're John Fucking Lennon, on their website as a hidden stream. 2 years later in 2010, they will follow up with another new song, All Good Chunkies Go to Heaven. Throughout 2010, Glassjaw kept on releasing new songs with the final single with different colors and titles added. On New Year's Day 2011, Glassjaw dropped their new EP, Our Color Green, which contains all the track singles that were released in 2010. It also was self-released with new label. A month later, Glassjaw dropped another EP titled Coloring Book. For a while, Justin and Daryl has been changing a lot of new members on their band, but on December 1st, 2015, Glassjaw dropped a new song, New White Extremity, which was uploaded on SoundCloud. It was also for an upcoming album, but it was unknown when it will be released. In 2016, there wasn't any notice for an upcoming album, but they were still performing shows until November 15, 2017, when Amazon leaked their album title, release date, and track listing on their website. On December 1st, 2017, Glassjaw released their third album, Material Control. They recorded their album around 2015 to 2016, but the third track, Citizen, was written in 98 and appeared on their setlist in 2001 with different titles like Neo or Neo Tokyo. It was the first album that Ross Robinson didn't produce, as I forgot to mention he also didn't produce their last two EP. It was also released with Central Media Records. The album received positive reviews on it. Glassjaw has become the most influential band in the post-hardcore scene. Many bands were influenced by Glassjaw like Let Live, Touche Amore, Fan FM, Every Time I Die, Funeral for a Friend, and Bring Me to Horizon. Their first two albums also became the most influential albums in post-hardcore history. It defines the genre when people talk about post-hardcore. Go to any list of best post-hardcore albums or bands and I bet they'll include Glassjaw as one of them. Glassjaw is proud of what they worked on throughout their whole career, with many fusion genres that they have done and their higher up energy on their live shows. Thanks for watching my video. Consider like and subscribe. I'll see you next time for more videos to come.